She had been married to him for 11 years. 11 years of dinners, holidays, inside jokes, and what she thought was an unbreakable trust. Then one Tuesday morning, while he was in the shower, his phone lit up with a message she was never supposed to see. And in the 60 seconds it took her to read it, her entire life unraveled. What she discovered wasn't just an affair. It was something far deeper. A betrayal that had been carefully hidden for years, right under her nose, in her own home, by the one person she trusted most in the world. This is the story of Claire, and what she did next is something nobody, not even her closest friends, saw coming. Claire and Daniel met in 2012, at a mutual friend's birthday party in Manchester, England. By all accounts, it was the kind of love story you'd see in a film. Daniel was charming, attentive, and ambitious. Claire was kind, hardworking, and deeply loyal. They got engaged after 2 years, married a year after that, and by 2016, they had bought a home together on the outskirts of Leeds. From the outside, they had everything. Daniel worked in finance, long hours, good money. Claire was a primary school teacher who adored her students and came home every day with stories that made Daniel laugh. They had a dog, a shared Netflix account, and a future they had planned together in detail. But here's the thing about perfect-looking relationships, sometimes the cracks are invisible until the whole wall comes down. And Claire had no idea the wall had been cracking for years. It was an ordinary Tuesday in March. Claire had taken the day off school, she had a dentist appointment in the morning and planned to spend the afternoon marking papers at home. Daniel had left for work early, as he always did. He'd forgotten his phone. That in itself wasn't unusual. But when it buzzed on the kitchen counter, Claire glanced over instinctively. The screen had lit up. The name that appeared wasn't one she recognized. It simply said, Sophie. The message read, "Last night was everything." He has no idea, does he? Claire picked up the phone with shaking hands. She told herself she was overreacting. That there was probably an innocent explanation. That she was jumping to conclusions. She opened the message thread. What she found wasn't an affair. Or at least, it wasn't only an affair. It was a conversation going back 18 months. Hundreds of messages. And buried inside those messages was something that made the affair look like the smallest problem she had. Daniel hadn't just been cheating on Claire. He had been secretly applying for a visa to move abroad, to Australia, with Sophie. They had been planning to leave together for over a year. He had already transferred a significant amount of money out of their joint account, quietly, in small amounts, over the past 8 months. He had been building an entire second life. And he had planned to simply vanish. Claire sat at the kitchen table for 3 hours and didn't move. When Daniel came home that evening, Claire didn't say a word. She had spent the afternoon taking photographs of every message on his phone. Every transfer receipt. Every booking confirmation. Every piece of evidence she could find. She called her sister. Then she called a solicitor. Because here's what Daniel didn't know about Claire, she was methodical. She was calm under pressure. And she was done. Over the next 2 weeks, while Daniel went to work every day believing nothing had changed, Claire was quietly dismantling everything he had built. She spoke to a family law solicitor who confirmed that the secret withdrawal of funds from a joint account, in the context of a planned departure, could be considered financial abuse under UK law. She gathered bank statements. She documented everything. She also, very carefully, had a conversation with Daniel's employer. It turned out that the business trips Daniel had claimed as work expenses, the ones he'd used to visit Sophie, had been fraudulently expensed to the company. His employer had no knowledge of them. By the time Claire was ready to have the conversation with Daniel, she had already reported the financial fraud to their bank, notified his employer's HR department, and spoken to a solicitor about protecting her share of the house. Daniel came home on a Friday evening expecting a normal weekend. He walked into a very different kind of conversation. Claire had printed everything. Every message. Every transfer. Every expensed receipt. She had placed them in a neat stack on the kitchen table. When Daniel walked in, he saw the pile and stopped in the doorway. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She looked at him and said, very calmly, "I know everything. And so does your employer." The color left his face. What followed was 2 hours of a man desperately trying to explain the inexplicable. He admitted the affair. He denied the plan to leave. He said the money transfers were just savings. He said she was misunderstanding things. Claire didn't argue. She simply pointed to each document and asked him to explain it. He couldn't. She told him she wanted him out of the house by Sunday. She had already spoken to a solicitor about the mortgage. She had already called a locksmith. Daniel left. He sent long messages that night, apologies, explanations, please. Claire read none of them. She changed the locks on Saturday morning. In the months that followed, Daniel lost his job. The fraudulent expense claims were investigated and confirmed, and he was dismissed without a reference. The visa application he had submitted was withdrawn. Sophie, it turned out, had no interest in relocating once the situation came to light. The money he had transferred was recovered through the legal process. Claire kept the house. And Claire? She went back to teaching. She got a promotion the following year. She adopted a second dog. And she told her story, not out of bitterness, but because she wanted other women to know something important. The moment you discover the truth is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a better one. She had spent 11 years building a life with someone who didn't deserve it. She spent the next years building one that did. If this story resonated with you, subscribe. We share new stories every week about real people who faced betrayal, found their strength, and came out the other side. And if you know someone who needs to hear a story like this right now, share it with them. We'll see you in the next one.